As the message by hip-hop legends Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. It was also the first hip-hop song that our next guest heard. She went on to manage members of the Wu-Tang Clan, A Tribe Called Quest, many other music artists as well. The music maven also worked in marketing for several record labels.
Yeah, her storied career in the music industry was shared with the memoir, The Baddest Bee in the Room. So please welcome author and screenwriter and former music business executive, Sophia Chang.
Yes, yes, yes.
Good morning. Wow,
Great
it is such an honor to have you here.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You know, hip hop is mostly a male-dominated genre, industry, but here you are. I mean, some people call you, the matriarchitect of some of the greatest hip hop groups. What does that feel like as an Asian woman to break into that business and have such a name and an imprint on the industry?
Yeah.
You know, I can talk about how it feels now. At the time, I don't think I was thinking about it through the same lens, right? None of us looked at identity through the same lens in '87 as we do now in 2023. But I was very aware that I was other. And what I'll say is that I'm the child of Korean immigrants. I grew up in Vancouver. I was a yellow girl in a white world who wanted to be white. I lost the language of Korean. I wasn't quite Korean enough. I definitely wasn't white. And I have to say, when I moved to New York, it's the first time I really felt like I belonged.
Wow.
You know, there's something about New York that is so potent that way. And hip hop in particular was not inclusive. It was, I mean, it wasn't exclusive, it was inclusive, right? And hip hop welcomed me, and it was such a privilege. I'm a Korean, Canadian, French lit major, and I moved to New York, and I'm like, oh my God, I love hip hop, and hip hop is like, oh my God, we love you too.
Right.
And it was just such a gift. And you know, I told you I just saw Wu-Tang last night, and it's 30 years of knowing them, and I still feel the same.
Right.
I still feel that incredibly potent and warm embrace. So it felt great because I had that embrace.
Yeah. Could you talk about the journey to hip hop, right? Because you had an interesting start in the music world because you actually started after meeting one of the Ramones at a gig, right? Which kind of led you into that whole music industry.
Yeah, so I was a French lit major. I was like, I'm gonna move to Paris, absolutely. Then I went to Paris and I met the Parisians, God bless you. And then I came to New York and I went to a show at the Ritz, which is now called Webster Hall. And I was at this concert and my friend was like, oh my God, that's Johnny Ramone. I was like, that's Johnny Ramone, and I was a huge fan. And you know, when you're leaving a concert, everybody is going this way, and I was going the other way. So I was like a salmon swimming upstream, and I was like, I'm gonna meet this guy. I just marched up there and I stuck out my hand, and I was like, I'm Sophia Chang. You're Johnny Ramone. And he looked at me and he goes, I'm Joey. And it was this massive faux pas, and I was like, oh my God, and how do I recover from this? And I just started to make him laugh, and then we kept in touch. I moved to New York. He introduced me to his friends, who then introduced me to Paul Simon, and that was kind of how things started to go. And this is why I always say, network, network, network. It is so important to network, and just take that shot.
Yeah. And so many people, though, say that you have a gift. Like, you could pick out who the stars were going to be. I mean, you had such, obviously, a very deep connection with Wu-Tang. And not everybody was welcoming of you as an Asian woman into the industry, but they really embraced you. But
yeah, I mean, I want to be very clear. I did not discover Wu-Tang Clan.
No, of course. That you helped, you know, a lot of artists.
I think that, I mean, look, I did A&R. I was a talent scout, right? And what we used to say was, you know, opinions are like elbows. Everybody's got one.
But you helped manage a lot.
And I did. I helped manage. And to me, managing is actually the most important job in the music business because you're the CEO of an artist enterprise. Right? You oversee every single aspect of their career. That's a 360 job. And I really, really love that. And I mean, I guess I had an eye for talent. But I think more important than the eye for talent is how I talk to artists. And how I relate to artists. I think I'm the greatest manager of all time. I was never the most powerful. I didn't have the biggest clients. I wasn't the wealthiest. I wasn't the most well-known. But there is a way that I communicate with artists that is singular. Nobody does that like Sophia Chang. Nobody.
Well, and I love that you have the confidence to talk about it in that way, too, because we were talking to somebody yesterday, and I was saying, it was DJ Kid Capri, and he was talking about how he only had 3 albums. And I was like, yeah, but you know what? It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality, which is kind of like what you're saying right here, right? Because you had ODB, RZA, Q-Tip, Tribe Called Quest, D'Angelo were some of the ones that you managed. What did you take away from each individual experience? Like, was there a life lesson from each one of them?
I don't know that I could point to a singular life lesson, but you know, if people were telling me for years, you gotta write a book, Sophia, you gotta write a book, oh my God, you got all these crazy stories. And I was like, what? And like talk about, my life is so cool because I hung out with rappers. It's just like a stupid exercise in narcissism. And then when I realized, oh, but if you share your story, you can actually be of service, particularly to young women, and particularly to young women of color. Because by the time by the time Lean In comes out, I'm 50 years old, and I realized that book's not written for you and I. Right? And so I thought, okay, you can be of service. Now I'm going to step into the spotlight. Now I'm going to grab the mic. Now I'm going to step into the arena and be under the lights. And I think the lesson that I learned was how to be a storyteller. Because I managed some of the greatest storytellers in the world. And again, I didn't know any of this until later, and I'm like, of course you know how to do this. It comes natural to you.
Yeah.
Is it all in the book?
It's all in the book. Oh my God. Yes,
And the lesson, of course, is just to go for it, just like you
go
did
for
always.
it.
Right?
Take your shot. What's the worst that can happen? Somebody says no. Maybe somebody's a little bit rude. So the downside to me, it's not that big of a deal, but the potential upside is galactic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are something else, Sophia Chang.
God, I love you. You come back all the time.
Yes.
to come back
I want her to just be around to motivate me every day. And we will continue the conversation with this amazing hip hop pioneer online at pix11.com. You can see her book right there, The Baddest.